Stop scrolling. This story is not what the headlines screamed this morning. You've probably seen a dozen posts and videos yelling massive Iraqi dinar move or 3 zeros gone and promising instant riches. Before anyone rushes out to trade, sell, or hand money to a stranger promising secret access, listen to this full video. I'll walk you through what really happened with the 20,000 dinar note, what removing zeros actually means in plain English, what officials have said, and what they haven't, and how to protect yourself from scams that explode the moment headlines go loud. We'll break this down step by step so you can watch, understand, and decide calmly. If you care about keeping your money safe, stay with me to the end. There's calm, useful reality behind the noise, and by the end, you'll know exactly what to watch for and exactly what to ignore. Right away, the most important fact is this. Talk of removing 3 zeros is not new, and the central bank has repeatedly described any such move as a technical, carefully planned project. Officials have said the idea is under study and planning, not that the government has handed out secret exchange rates, or that the currency has suddenly been revalued overnight. When central bankers talk about deleting zeros, they mean redenomination, changing the face value on banknotes to simplify cash handling and accounting. That does not magically change the money people already hold into something more valuable. It's a technical change, not a free payday. Officials have emphasized planning and caution in public statements, and this is a key difference from the fast emotional headlines we see on social platforms. Here's how redenomination works in simple terms. If a country removes 3 zeros, every 1,000 old units become 1 new unit. Prices, wages, and bank balances are adjusted proportionally. So if a loaf of bread cost 1,000 old dinars, it would cost 1 new dinar after redenomination, not because the bread suddenly became cheaper, but because the numbers were rescaled. Redenomination is an accounting and logistics exercise. It's done to make daily transactions easier, reduce the sheer number of physical banknotes people carry, and modernize financial systems. It is not inherently a sign that the currency will gain real value against other currencies. Real value depends on economic fundamentals like inflation control, productivity, government finances, and international confidence. This is why governments and central banks test, plan, and talk about it for years before any real change. A lot of the panic and hype comes from misunderstanding what the central bank actually says. Officials in Baghdad have repeatedly described the project to remove zeros as ongoing planning, not an immediate swap or secret program for insiders. The central bank governor and spokespeople have highlighted that any change would be gradual, carefully coordinated, and tied to broader banking reforms, including digitization and compliance improvements. That language matters. When a bank shifts from "we don't deal with that" to "we currently don't offer that service" or "this is under study," it opens the door for legitimate preparation without promising a date or an exchange rate. That difference, from absolute refusal to cautious preparation, is what people on trading forums often mistake for proof that revaluation is around the corner. It's not. It's simply the early stage of policy work. Another reality check. Central banks don't hand out secret appointments or private rates. Real banking institutions operate through formal channels, public announcements, and strict compliance. When the central bank or major commercial banks change procedures, they do it in documented steps: new rules, new software updates, employee training, and public guidance. They don't pick preferred customers and whisper about opportunities. So whenever you see social posts that claim insider access or early appointments, treat them like red flags. Those posts are the exact pattern scammers use. They create urgency, exclusivity, and fear of missing out to get you to move fast and emotionally. The central bank's publicly stated approach is the opposite: steady, public, and regulated. Keep that in mind when assessing any flashy pitch. What about the 20,000 dinar note specifically? The news item swirling online claims special treatment for the high-value note and suggests removing 3 zeros from it was done immediately. In countries that redenominate, New notes often get reprinted and phased in over time. Authorities redesign notes, update anti-counterfeit features, and plan the timeline for withdrawal of old notes. That's costly and slow by design. So any actual reissue or redesign of a 20,000 note would be announced, rationed, and handled across banks and stores, not quietly handed to a select few. If you see posts claiming your physical 20,000 note is suddenly convertible at a new hidden rate, be extremely suspicious. Legitimate currency reforms use public official windows and clear instructions for citizens and banks. Let's talk about why some institutions may be behaving differently now. Over the last few years, Iraq has pushed financial reforms, limiting dollar cash usage inside the country, strengthening compliance, expanding domestic bond markets, and modernizing banking operations. Those reforms create legitimate work for banks and central systems, changing software flags for currencies, retraining tellers, and testing new transaction flows. When systems shift from treating a currency as inactive to under review, staff respond differently. That's a meaningful signal to careful observers, but it's not the same as a revaluation or a guaranteed market change. It's the first stage, attention. Attention costs money and requires preparation, which is why it's happening at all. But attention alone is not proof of immediate revaluation. Why do these stories make people emotional? Human brains are wired to react to scarcity and opportunity. When a headline says, "massive move" or "3 zeros gone," it lights the mental path from curiosity to imagining big gains. Combine that with social media echo chambers, and a rumor can snowball into a community telling itself a story that feels true. But emotion is the enemy of careful money decisions. Scammers rely on it. They'll promise private rates, early exchanges, or guaranteed profits. They'll copy bank logos, create fake documents, and build fake websites to appear credible. The correct approach is the opposite: slow, fact-checking, documentation, and waiting for official channels to publish clear instructions. Keep records of where you acquired currency, keep bank receipts, and don't give money to anyone promising a shortcut. Those are simple, practical safeguards. Let me walk you through a short checklist for anyone holding Iraqi dinars right now. First, keep the bills safe and intact. Don't cut, tape, or alter them. Second, keep any paperwork that proves how you acquired them, receipts, bank statements, or transfer records. Third, don't send money to third parties promising exchange or paperwork handling. Fourth, treat any unsolicited calls or messages claiming to be from banks with suspicion. Real banks won't cold call customers to offer a pre-launch exchange. Fifth, watch official channels, central bank press releases, major financial news outlets, and mainstream bank notices. Following this checklist protects you against the most common frauds that spike around currency stories. These are practical steps you can take right now. Now, what would real redenomination look like if it happened? It would be a public project with a timetable and clearly issued guidance. The central bank would publish the conversion ratio, dates for when old notes stop being legal tender, and steps for banks and citizens to exchange old for new notes. There would also be legal guidance about taxation and reporting for large holdings, and clear anti-fraud communications. Countries that have redenominated before often allow a lengthy transition, months, sometimes a year, where both old and new notes circulate together, and then a final swap window. That's because the logistical side is enormous: printing secure notes, distributing them, updating ATM software, and training bank staff across the country. It's not instant, and it's not secret. A common misunderstanding is to conflate redenomination with revaluation. Redenomination changes only the numbers on the bills and the accounting units. Revaluation would change the currency's buying power versus other currencies on foreign exchange markets. A successful revaluation requires macroeconomic strength, low, stable inflation, fiscal discipline, strong exports or capital inflows, and international confidence. Redenomination alone doesn't provide those things. It might help simplify transactions and modernize the system, but it's not a shortcut to higher international value. If someone is promising a guaranteed jump in exchange rates after zeros are removed, that's a red flag, and likely a scam pitch. Let's get practical about banks and employees. You might notice that bank employees answer questions differently now than they did a year ago. That's often the result of script updates and training. If a bank updates its internal FAQ from "we don't handle that" to "we currently don't offer that service," it doesn't mean the bank has decided on a final policy. It means the bank is training staff to communicate in a way that leaves room for future changes and avoids misinformation. Those changes are internal and procedural. They are not an endorsement of revaluation promises, so reading staff tone as definitive evidence of a revaluation is a common mistake. It's better to wait for formal public announcements. Because scams proliferate during moments like this, I'll give you real examples of common frauds to watch for and how to spot them. Scammers often use 1. Fake endorsements. Fake emails or documents with a bank logo claiming priority exchange. 2. Urgent pressure, insisting you must act now or lose out. 3. Upfront fees, asking for processing or bribe-style payments to reserve a slot. 4. Unverifiable claims, promises of secret rates that cannot be confirmed by independent sources. The antidote is simple. If someone demands upfront money or insists on secrecy, it's a scam. Don't give them access to your accounts or personal IDs. Report suspicious contacts to your bank and to local authorities. Keep things public and documented. You may have heard claims that big Western banks are preparing to handle dinar exchanges, and that staff are making subtle system changes. That's partially true in the sense that banks globally always monitor significant currency projects and update systems as part of risk management. However, monitoring does not equal an active exchange program or a guaranteed profit opportunity for currency holders. International banks operate within strict compliance frameworks and will only process new currency arrangements after transparent agreements and clear regulatory guidance. So yes, banks pay attention? No. That doesn't mean the market will suddenly make everyone rich. It means the system is being watched and prepared. That's it. If you're wondering whether to sell now or hold, remember, sell decisions should be based on your personal financial plan, not on internet hype. If you need liquidity, consider selling through licensed, reputable channels, banks or licensed currency exchanges, and keep records. Avoid peer-to-peer deals with strangers online. If you are holding dinars as a speculative bet, be honest about the risk. Redenomination is years in the making, and revaluation is not guaranteed. Plan for the possibility that your holding may not increase in USD value. If you want to reduce exposure, do it through formal channels and accept that you may need to convert at market rates without expecting a windfall. There's no shame in being cautious. Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Let's discuss the government's role. Any serious redenomination needs coordinated policy across the central bank, the finance ministry, and often parliament. Law changes, budget adjustments, and public communication plans must line up. That's why some past attempts were postponed. Governments weigh timing and political risks, and they avoid moves that could unsettle prices or public confidence. In Iraq's case, officials have repeatedly stressed planning and strategic timing. This is why you should treat rumors of sudden overnight changes with skepticism. Governments do not do complex monetary surgery in secret. They need broad planning and public communication. How about the market reaction? Markets are forward-looking and sensitive to signals. When local banks and financial media treat the dinar differently, the market may adjust pricing slowly, but real exchange rate moves depend on supply and demand, foreign reserves, and external capital flows. Even if redenomination proceeds, the effective foreign exchange value of the currency will still be set by markets and policy. If the central bank wants to keep the exchange rate stable, it will use reserves, regulations, and policy tools to manage volatility. In short, market moves are possible, but they're not automatic. They require macroeconomic backing. What about legal and tax matters? Large currency exchanges can trigger reporting requirements. Banks will want to know where large sums came from. If you hold significant amounts of old banknotes, expect normal compliance questions about source of funds. This is standard in modern banking to prevent money laundering and tax evasion. Keep receipts, document transfers, and be ready to show proof of legitimate acquisition. That protects you and speeds any legitimate exchange process if and when it happens. Don't rely on supposed insiders who promise it can avoid these formalities. That's another scam hallmark. Know a few practical do and don'ts for viewers. Do keep physical bills safe and unaltered. Do keep any paperwork proving how you got the currency. Do consult your bank or financial advisor before acting. Do check official central bank channels for statements before making decisions. Don't send money to third parties promising early access. Don't post identifying details online about your holdings. Don't believe anyone promising guaranteed profits from a redenomination. These actions minimize risk and preserve your legal rights if a legitimate process unfolds. They also deny scammers the emotional leverage they need. Let's address one more common myth, that redenomination will instantly make off-bank holdings magically worth a fortune. Currency reforms can help clarity and efficiency, but to change purchasing power, you need changes in inflation, fiscal policy, and external balances. A country like Iraq depends heavily on oil revenue and on complex reconstruction needs. Redenomination might make accounting easier, but it does not instantly create international demand for the dinar. Any sustained rise in the dinar's exchange rate would need to be backed by macroeconomic improvement and market confidence, not just a change in banknote appearance. If you're tracking official news, here's what to look for and how to verify it. An official statement from the Central Bank of Iraq with exact dates and conversion ratios. Accompanying legal texts from the Finance Ministry or Parliament. Announcements from major commercial banks about exchange windows, and coverage by major international news outlets that cite the official documents rather than hearsay. If a story lacks these things and instead relies on anonymous insiders, user-generated screenshots, or private social groups, treat it with skepticism. Official change will be public, sequential, and documented. Now, some calm perspective for holders. If you have a small amount of dinars that represents a hobby or speculative interest, the logical approach is to treat them as a high-risk asset and not the core of your financial life. If you have more substantial holdings, adopt conservative steps, document everything, consult licensed financial professionals, and avoid last-minute panic sales. The people who do best in moments like these are the ones who prepare calmly and follow official guidance. Panic and impulse are precisely the emotions scammers exploit. Finally, a short recap you can use as a script for quick sharing. The central bank has discussed removing zeros and is studying the project as part of longer-term reform. This is planning, not an immediate swap or secret revaluation. Redenomination is technical and does not itself change purchasing power. Banks prepare and test systems but do not hand out secret rates or early appointments. And scams flourish at moments like this. So keep receipts, avoid secrecy, and always check official sources. If you follow those steps, you'll be protected and ready for real official updates if and when they come. One last word on scams and how to report them. Gather evidence, emails, screenshots, phone numbers, forward suspicious communications to your bank, and report to local authorities or consumer protection agencies. If the contact claims to be from a bank, hang up and call the bank's official number. Don't rely on the number the caller gives you. And if someone offers to hold or transfer your notes safely for a fee, refuse. Legitimate banks will not ask for that type of upfront payment. These steps protect you and help law enforcement track down scammers. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, like and subscribe for calm, factual updates. I'll monitor official channels and bring you clear explanations. No hype, no promises. Just plain facts and practical advice. If you want a follow-up video, tell me in the comments. Do you hold Iraqi dinars and want a step-by-step checklist for documentation? Or would you like a deep dive into how redenomination works in other countries and the real economic conditions needed for a currency to gain value? Drop your questions below and I'll answer them in the next episode. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and don't let urgency online become your decision maker.